one of the greatest individuals in terms of monitoring Communist China, their civil rights violations, their economic activities, is a Republican congressman from New Jersey, Chris Smith, who I've known now, how long is it, 40 years, 42 years, give or take?
At least 42 years,
like that.
exactly, yep.
This has been a big, big matter to you, the way that they treat other human beings and the way they treat our country. And you held a hearing the other day, or were leading a hearing the other day. What did you determine?
Well, Mark, thanks for having me on. I did hold my 76th congressional oversight hearing on the abuses of the Chinese Communist Party, and this one focused on cobalt, which is mined out of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Most of the reserves are found in the DRC, and China owns it. They are exploiting people. They're using child labor. And, you know, the key ingredient, one of the key ingredients of electric cars and the batteries is cobalt. 13 to 26 pounds of it goes into every battery. So it's a very expensive commodity. Matter of fact, it's going for now what is the number now? $71,000 a ton. And the Chinese have cornered that market, realizing that the United States and Europe and others, want to have electric cars. And if you want electric cars, there may be some alternative someday. Cobalt is a mainstay, and they're exploiting kids. We had two Africans from the DR Congo testify. One was a priest, and he couldn't have been clearer how these kids are being abused. They have pictures, they have videos of it, and the kids get very sick. They are mining with picks, and they're going into shafts and retrieving this product. It all goes to China almost exclusively for processing, because they want to corner that market so that Ford and everybody else, because hybrids use it too, but especially these electric vehicles, the demand will grow exponentially over time, and they will have cornered that market. So it's an egregious human rights abuse. I have legislation that I've already drafted, which I will introduce shortly, that would provide a presumption of guilt. That is to say, we know it's happening, but if an individual mine can prove to the United States of America, to our customs people, that they are free in their supply chain of exploitation of children and slave labor type processes, then they can do it. We did the same thing with the Uyghurs just recently, and I was one of the principal sponsors of that bill, to say anything coming out of Xinjiang, the presumption is that it was made in a concentration camp. And so it's a very, very important tool to try to get these supply chains clean. And I am very, very disturbed at so many people in the environmental justice movement who have not spoken out on this. They say, oh, let's audit, let's do this, let's do that. In plain sight, these children are being exploited, they're getting sick, and they're dying. And the Catholic Church and other faith-based entities in DR Congo are doing much to bring attention to it, but much of the world is turning a deaf ear on that.
We're talking about tens of thousands of children, because you have to mine a lot of cobalt. And you make a very, very important point. Now, clearly, President Biden and his administration, the head of the EPA, the Secretary of State, they all know this is going on. They probably know more than you do about it, because they're dealing with these countries directly as in the executive branch, and yet they keep pushing electric vehicles. That's their answer to everything when the prices go up on fossil fuels. So they want to abandon fossil fuels, which really is the fuel that runs the energy of our capitalist system and is our national security liquid, and then place us all on this drug of electric vehicles, which cannot run without these batteries, which cannot work without the cobalt, which you cannot get except through the Communist Chinese. So what kind of a situation are they creating?
Well, they're creating a nightmare for the victims, and almost all of these victims happen to be little African children or other people who are vulnerable. We know that the military is very much, this is the DR Congo military, involved with ensuring that the Chinese get what they want. And Tshisekedi, who's the president of the DR Congo, is corrupt. And, they announced a zero-tolerance policy on child labor a couple of years ago. If you believe that they're doing anything along those lines, I'll sell you the Brooklyn Bridge. We saw the same thing. I've been to the DR Congo. I've been to Goma at a time when armed militias, and they're still out there, about 120 different groups in this area, were roaming the countryside, killing people. There are a lot of extractive minerals there that are highly lucrative. And sure enough, the international community sent the United Nations peacekeepers, which was a good idea, I think, and then they started abusing children. So I had 4 congressional hearings on this outrageous situation where even the UN peacekeepers were part of the oppression of, in this case, women and children in that eastern Congo. So ditto right now, this looking the other way, paying no real attention to this. Our bill will say, we're not kidding. I'm not kidding. You got to stop exploiting children.
So this constant push in the media by the Democrat Party, some in the Republican Party, this administration, electric vehicles, batteries, electric this, electric that. There is absolutely no discussion about what you are exposing here, which is we're going to play right into the hands of the communist Chinese, putting even aside these horrific inhumanities that you're talking about. We're going to play right into their hand. We're going to close down our energy strength, and then we're going to have to rely on the communist Chinese. And it's not just cobalt. They're controlling a lot of these rare earth minerals, aren't they?
Oh, without a doubt. And matter of fact, the whole idea of the solar panels and the fact that this administration has looked the other way largely when it comes to that production. And John Kerry, who's our czar for Green New Deal initiatives, is like human rights matter, but it's on page 16 of their talking points. It's not a priority. And many of these things are being made in concentration camps, including these solar panels.
So John Kerry has to know what's going on in the Congo.
He does.
I mean, the guy's flying all over the world. He's got the greatest airline pass in the world. He's got to know what's going on in China. So the communist Chinese, it's not just Congo. It's Afghanistan with the rare minerals. It's China with the rare minerals, although they need more from other countries. It's Ukraine that has rare minerals, which I think is one of the reasons Russia wants to conquer Ukraine and so forth. And he just keeps flying around saying, we're behind the curve, we need to catch up, the world's coming to an end. And I'll say it again, all the inhumanity that's going on. It's a funny thing how they're able to turn their heads from this. Now, aren't you concerned about a president of the United States who doesn't even speak straightforwardly with the American people about what it's going to take to get all these batteries?
Oh, without a doubt. And there's been no real good oversight hearings about, not just supply, but the grid. How can the grid, the electric grid, stand for all of that recharging that will be taking place almost nonstop? I mean, it's not been factored out. And again, to me, this is past his prologue. We saw it when Bill Clinton shamelessly delinked human rights from trade in 1994, May 26 to be exact, after just pillaring George Herbert Walker Bush for coddling the dictatorship in Beijing after Tiananmen Square. That said, he delinks it, and that's when the Chinese looked us in the eyes and said, these people don't care about human rights, they just care about making more money. And we could have made money, but with conditionality linked to our Bill of Rights, the fundamental rights of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and all of that was just tossed aside. A few years later, Bill Clinton actually had the butcher of Beijing, Che Haitian, who said nobody died at Tiananmen Square. He was the operational commander that sent into the tanks. So I put together a hearing 2 days after he made that statement right here in Washington. They didn't send anybody. We asked him to come or anybody from the Chinese embassy. And I had people bear witness to the fact that people did die at Tiananmen Square. What did Bill Clinton do? He had him at the White House for a 19-gun salute. This man should have been arrested for crimes against humanity. Instead, he was feted by the Clinton administration. So that kind of enabling catches up with you when it's done over and over, year in and year out. And the Chinese government looks at that and says, these people are all talk and no action.
So, Congressman Chris Smith, I want to thank you for your years of toiling in this field and warning the world about communist China and what they do to their own people and people of the world. Good luck to you. God bless you, sir.
Thank you, Mark. God bless you.